Lethal injection is a 3-drug process used to execute prisoners in the U.S. In modern times, this method has experienced a heightened rate of going wrong. The two biggest culprits for this are poorly placed IV lines and the state's inability to secure the proper medications. This has led to experimenting with new ones that don't always render the prisoner unconscious. Once the governor issues your receipt of warrant for execution, 2 different executioners will be selected. One is basically a backup plan. On your death date, you'll be provided a last meal and forced to shower thoroughly. You'll be beckoned from your cell around the midnight hour and led to a cold chamber. You'll be asked to lie down on what looks like a surgical table, and you will be strapped in with restraints. Likely, a 16-gauge needle will be inserted into your vein, hopefully in the crook of your arm or hand. You can't see them, but 3 syringes are ready with sodium pentothal, if available, meant to induce you into an unconscious state, pink uronium bromide, meant to deeply relax muscles, and potassium chloride, which will stop your heart. This is the most painful drug and can feel as if it's devouring your veins by fire. If you're lucky, you'll get a dollop of diazepam first, which will relax and sedate you. Your nerves and nausea is distracting you from the witnesses who are seated outside of the window. The next step will determine how miserable your death will be. The first drug will be pushed. If all goes as planned, you will fall completely under in a few blinks. If not, well, you're in for a hell of a time. Once the second syringe is pushed, you may not even be able to protest or resist, and the third will feel like a fire tornado rushing through your circulatory system. You'll wonder if it's leaving any vein it touches intact. Your heart may not stop for over 5 minutes. However, if your vein was missed with IV placement, it could actually and has actually taken up to an hour. These days, South Carolina gives death row inmates a choice: farewell by electric chair or firing squad. They've even invested hundreds of thousands into renovating their death chamber and installing bulletproof glass. The state taking these backward steps is largely due to their inability to secure the drugs for lethal injection. T-minus 7 hours to death. You've taken your final shower and are awaiting delivery of your last meal. Will you be able to eat with the clock running down on your life? T-minus 13 minutes to death. You hear hard footsteps echoing. They are growing louder and closer. They're coming for you. It's time to bring you to your audience, patiently waiting for your last breath. The death chamber is cold and bright with white fluorescent lights. A chill zips down your spine. Before you is a metal chair with an open back outfitted with restraints just waiting for you. You take a seat and your stomach bottoms out. Workers hurry to secure you in place as your order of execution is recited. A tiny cloth with a bullseye is pinned to the chest of your jumpsuit. This is where the squad will be aiming. T-minus 3 minutes to death. It's time for your last words. Your lower lip quivers. After, an announcement of commencement is made to your audience as a hood is forced over your head. T-minus seconds to death. You can't see them, but 3 people line up behind Brick with a hole for their muzzles. These 3 people are all just employees of the prison. Let's hope that they have a mean shot. Only one has a blank. Suddenly, you hear, "Ready, aim." You feel an explosion of heat in your chest. It's as if hurricane winds just rammed into you. The good news is they didn't miss. Your heart has stopped beating, yet you won't be gone for
3, 2, 1.
A shot to the heart isn't an instant death, but it does typically only take seconds. The electric chair came to fruition because a dentist saw an autopsy of a man who accidentally fried himself up like gamey sausage, and he believed it was painless. The person is shaved, strapped in, and a damp sponge is placed on their head. Also, various electrodes are attached to the body. Up to 2,000 volts are sent through the veins and muscles that travel up into the sinus cavity, eyeballs, and brain and back down. If that person begins screaming, something is likely going wrong because every single muscle should be spasming like a full-body Charlie horse internally and externally. This should prevent the ability to consciously make noise. You know what it doesn't prevent? Pain. Imagine a tidal wave, no, tsunami, of brand new sharp needles barreling at you, consuming you whole at 100 miles per hour. That's a close match to what you would feel. Add to the tab tiny hot internal fireworks in your face and eye sockets as your sinus cavities and eyeballs blow. This is common. Flesh and muscles literally begin to steam, giving way to an unforgettable odor of cooked death, and the body turns beet red as it heats up. Sometimes another round or 2 of 2,000 volts is required to cause death, so rinse and repeat. In the end, doctors require a 5-minute lapse time because you will literally be too hot to handle. The gas chamber has remained the most traumatic modern execution method to witness. It was first created in a prison butcher shop in 1924. You'll be offered a last meal. At midnight, you'll be taken from your cell and escorted to a claustrophobic chamber that resembles a safe. You'll be strapped into your death chair and read your execution order. Now it's time to seal up the door. A bay-like window offers a glimpse of the people waiting to watch your final breaths. What painful breaths they will be. If you look beneath your chair, you'll notice a bucket filled with sulfuric acid. The executioner pulls a lever and you hear plop, plop, plop. Cyanide crystals are falling into the acid. The chemical reaction is releasing plumes of hydrogen cyanide gas. The first thing that you notice is a musty odor of sweet almonds. It's singeing your nostrils, your eyes are beginning to burn. You remember that you were instructed to breathe in deep to speed up the process, so you give it a try. Immediately, your veins pump up and pulsate as a cruel fire leaps down your throat and assaults your lungs. It feels as if tiny explosions are detonating just beneath your flesh. It's so jarring that it triggers an involuntary gasp. Now it's as if pure acid is trickling down your gullet into your stomach. Your body contorts as your muscles seize up. The full-body Charlie horse forces another gasp. You ache for oxygen and cold water. Your eyes throb with immense pressure. You wonder if they might explode. Hydrogen cyanide is a systemic toxin that attacks every single organ, including your skin. It prevents cells from utilizing remaining oxygen and causes erosion of tissue, both internal and external. All that while you are still contending with the agony of slow suffocation. The pain is so immense that it caused one prisoner to bang his head against a metal pole repeatedly in hopes of knocking himself out. It takes between 6 and 12 minutes to finally cause death. States like Alabama and Oklahoma are in the process of making it their primary method, or at least an alternative for the inmate to choose. The problem is, they are both being vague and tight-lipped about it, leaving us to wonder if it's truly humane. Well, I think I might have the answer. They are currently calling this method nitrogen asphyxiation. Though neither state have put forth an actual protocol, it involves forcing the inmate to breathe in only nitrogen gas until their organs are starved of oxygen, causing them to shut down. Nitrogen is undetectable by human senses, which poses a large risk. Even being in close proximity of the gas can be fatal. It could lead to the very first botched execution that results in more than just the prisoner's death. This method truly has the potential to be humane, but only if they do it right. It will require specially trained staff and safety practices. For instance, if the nitrogen is delivered by mask, there cannot be a leak. It must be perfectly fitted to the individual's face. If oxygen is able to sneak in, it will prolong the process. Use of a sedative would be beneficial to keep the prisoner calm and compliant. Preferably an oral medication, because we know that the state fails at placing IV lines. As long as the nitrogen is administered properly, the individual shouldn't experience pain. Heightened anxiety can be a symptom of hypoxia, but the sedative would counteract that. Death would likely occur in a window of 5 to 8 minutes. It would be bloodless and struggle-free, but only if the state doesn't mess it up.